Pokemon Horizons Episode 11 Arboliva's Forest just aired and it even featured Nemona. Let's talk about it. The episode begins with Liko again recapping the events of the two previous episodes, and now they're on their way to the Arboliva Forest to further search for the Black Rayquaza. Liko sneaks towards Dot's room and tries to engage in a conversation with her. She remembers the time that she saw a Nidothing costume hanging on the balcony and assumes that it's under Dot's ownership. Dot is still on her I wanna be left alone personality, but Liko concludes that Dot must be a super fan of Nidothing and she bought a costume of it and even owns a Quaxly. I totally saw this coming when she started the dialogue with Dot, and I just strongly think that Liko won't figure out about Dot being Nidothing until some crucial time in the show or at the very end. What do you think? Meanwhile, Mollie is calling someone on the phone and is telling them that she isn't coming home yet. She notices that a portion of Arboliva Forest has dried out and plants no longer grow in that area. It turns out she was talking to her parents, and it's really nice to see Mollie and Orla have such a great friendship with one another. Nemona guides Liko, Roy, and Mollie to the desolate Arboliva Forest, and Nemona leaves right away. I was so let down by this, I thought it would have been so cool to see her further interact, but instead we just get her for 10 seconds. The trio goes deeper into the forest until Roy decides to explore on his own with Fuecoco, as he assures everyone that he'll be fine since he's used to being in forests. He explains that the tallest tree in the forest is their meetup spot if they get lost. Friede, Murdock, and Orla are in the meeting room, and Orla notices how they both look kinda down while on their phones. Friede mentions that he is waiting for Ruka-sensei to respond to his messages, but she hasn't answered in quite a while. Murdock understands his feelings because Roy, Liko, and Mollie haven't answered what they want to eat for dinner. He worries that they're in an accident, but Orla just reassures them that they're fine. We also find out that poor Murdock has been blocked by Dot. One like equals one prayer for poor Murdock. We all know that he deserves better. Liko and Mollie take a rest and they start talking about family. Liko mentions that her mom is a teacher and that her dad is an artist. Mollie asks her whose footsteps she's going to follow, but Liko answers that she doesn't really want to do either teaching or painting, and her parents are supportive of what she wants to become. Mollie then opens up that her path has already been shaped by her parents ever since she was a child. She mentions that she was trained to be a nurse joining a Pokemon Center, but what she really wants to do is help and cure injured Pokemon who are incapable of getting treated at a Pokemon Center. This makes Liko remember the time when Mollie asked her to go to the Pokemon Center. It's likely because Mollie didn't want to see her nurse joy relatives there. I thought that this was a really powerful scene at giving us more life into Mollie's character, and it's something we all expected at the same time. It was also a cool callback to the Pokemon Center episode scene because I really remember that, and I remember thinking the same thing back then. Roy eventually comes across this big beautiful tree. He and Fuecoco try climbing up the tree, but along the way he's shocked to see a Pokeball that was similar to the one that he owns sitting on top of it. He tries going further until the ground starts to shake. In fact, the entire Arboliva Forest starts shaking.
It's alive!
Liko and Sprigatito walk towards a desolate area and find a weird mark that stretches to an injured Paldean Wooper. Liko tries treating it by pouring some water, but it still isn't enough. Liko grabs an orange berry from her bag, but a Cacnea sneaks in and attacks them. A Shroomish and a Hoppip also approach them and take Wooper away. The Grass-type gang run towards a tree that Roy was climbing earlier. Liko tries walking closer, explaining that all she wants to do is help the injured Pokemon. She wants them to do that and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I really think that you should listen to Liko here. Cacnea and friends don't believe her and prepare for an attack until Mollie and Chansey come to the rescue and instantly grab Wooper to be healed. Cacnea and friends begin complaining to the tree and the ground starts shaking once again. Turns out the tree is actually a giant Arboliva. Who could have seen that coming? Arboliva attacks, but they cleverly evade all of them. They tell Mollie to hurry up at treating Wooper, but she told them to go ahead and she won't leave until Wooper is completely healed. It is then that Liko comes up with the idea that she and Roy battle Arboliva to buy some time for Mollie to heal Wooper. Roy calls for Ember, knowing that fire is strong against grass, but Liko warns him not to use the move because it would cause yet another forest fire. So, both trainers opt for weaker and not very effective attacks. Sprigatito starts a quick attack to bait out of Arboliva's attacks, and Sprigatito runs around Arboliva's body and tries to kind of tickle it, but then Fuecoco attacks with Stomping Tantrum. They go for a combo of Leaf Age and Stomping Tantrum and defeat Arboliva. Arboliva goes down about to body slam Fuecoco, but Sprigatito goes to rescue and save his buddy. Arboliva gets up angrier than before, but then the newly treated Wooper walks to it and pleads not to attack anymore. Mollie also explains how they're only here to help injured Pokemon. Of course, this gets to the heart of Arboliva and becoming amicable with them. Arboliva carries Liko and Roy to the top and then shows them the amazing view of the Arboliva Forest until it pans to the desolate land once again, bringing sadness on Arboliva's face. Overall, I felt that this episode was one of the weaker ones that we've had so far in Pokemon Horizons. I get that it's a two-parter, and that makes it much harder to rate without knowing what it's exactly setting up. But I come from a place where I'm watching it weekly as it airs, so I'm going to rate it as such. I was extremely let down by Nemona's brief appearance, and I felt that she could have added the depth that this episode needed. All the characters worked together really well, and we got to learn more about Mollie. I'll be giving this episode a 6 out of 10, which ties it for my second lowest rated episode thus far for those of you counting at home. This is a setting up the next episode, so let's see the preview trailer. So we see that Roy and Fuecoco and Liko are trying to replant the forest and make it livable by the Pokemon again. We also see that the Rising Voltaclers have her back and are ready to help her out at this situation. They're a team after all. Even Ludlow is leaving the ship, which we know doesn't happen often, so that was really nice. What looks like a scene at the end of the episode, Arboliva drops the ancient Pokeball down to Liko and Roy, which I think will contain a hint or lead them on their way to the next step to find Black Rayquaza. And then we finally see a woman who we can only assume is Ruka Sensei and a Squawkabilly. I think that without a doubt this woman is Liko's mom. I mean, when they first arrived at Paldea, Liko mentions how her mom never picks up the phone, she looks like her, and also their name is just one vowel away. What do you think? Did you guys enjoy this week's episode? This week's question of the day is, do you think Ruka Sensei is actually Liko's mom or not? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to answer the question with the hashtag QOTD so I know you're a real one. And of course, if you made it this far into the video, I want to say that I truly appreciate you. But with that being said, it's been your boy Luap, and I'm out. Peace.